Hello, and my name is Alistair, and this is Ian from Premier Plumbing and Heating. And today we're going to showcase for everyone out there who doesn't understand or know anything about power flushing, or as it's sometimes called, jet flushing of a heating system, why to do it, and the pros and cons involved in doing that. We've also got a selection here of chemicals. We've got the X800 from Sentinel, which is used to clean this heating system, and that will help to remove solids, build-ups within the heating system, and therefore increase the efficiency of your heating system. On average, if you actually clean your heating system, you can save around about 15% on your actual fuel bills, which obviously makes this whole process worthwhile doing, depending on your heating bills. So you have to ask yourself first and foremost, what are your heating bill costs per year? And if you're having a new boiler fitted, the use of Sentinel and jet flushing added to a new energy efficient boiler, what your savings on your household utility bills will actually be. Ian from Premier Plumbing and Heating is going to help demonstrate the system with me. What we have here is a Sentinel test kit. One of the first items here is a infrared tester for your radiators, which will show us the hot spots and the cold spots within your radiators, which we will demonstrate shortly. Nice piece of kit that. This particular device, you fill up to the top here, which is 200, and what you're looking for is to be able to actually see the two circles at the bottom of the test tube. You fill it to the top with 200 parts per million. If you can see the bottom circles, then you have a relatively clean heating system. But generally speaking, what you can do is fill it to the top point. You will not be able to see the bottom because your system will be dirty, and you can reduce the content within the test tube all the way down till you come to a point where you can actually see the two dots at the bottom. And this is also a good piece of kit to actually test if you've cleaned the system thoroughly when you finish. I will point out though at this point, it is a requirement under the building regulations, if you do have a new boiler fitted, that you should have your system power flushed. So it's very important that it's done correctly. So there's that bit of kit there. What we have here is another piece of kit supplied by Sentinel, and this piece of kit actually tests what particles are actually in the system. That might be a flux, which is used for the soldering of copper pipe joints one to the other, or it might be iron filings, or just general debris, or even deposits that are in there from your water main. So another handy piece of equipment to use in the process. Obviously here we've got a bleed key for doing the rest of it, and here we have some chemicals that we use to test afterwards to make sure that the Sentinel chemicals are installed correctly and that the dosage is correct. I will point out that this piece of kit here will actually tell you if the Sentinel X100, which you've installed into the system after the power flush, is in there properly and working. The fundamental basis of this is to use the X800 to clean the system, and once you've got a nice clean system, you want to keep it clean for the future, and future proofing is with the X100, and that going forward is what is going to help keep your system clean for the future and keep whatever energy efficiency savings you get through the process of power flushing in your system for the future. So we also have the guidance discs here as well, and here we've got pure water as a base for all the testing that we're going to do. That basically is the kit for power flushing and jet flushing with the Sentinel system. So location into the garage, and Ian's taken the pump out. That's going to allow us now to be able to take some of the existing water out of the heating system so we can see if it's clean, dirty, or what the actual condition is, and hence we're going to use the Sentinel test tube again so we can see what the quality of the water is like. We've now taken the sample from this particular heating system, and being as 100% authentic as we can be, this is actually a reasonably clear sample, although it would look clear. A lot of these samples can look like Guinness and actually be black, and you wouldn't be able to see horizontally through the sample. Now looking at this, you think that's quite a clean sample, but the amazing thing is, if I tip it gently towards the camera now, you will not be able to see the two circles at the bottom. So if I bring the sample horizontally, you may see them in the camera. Now if I tip it at this angle, you'll actually be amazed that even with such a clean sample, we still cannot see the two circles at the bottom. Now from a professional point of view, me and Ian both being plumbers, that is quite a clean sample, and that is not the majority of heating systems. Most heating systems are dirty, but being as true as we can, that is the sample from this particular heating system, and it does require a power flush, even though the sample, looking at it from the side, is quite good.
Incredible enough, we've gone right down to 1,000 parts per million indicator on the tube, and if I look down it now, we can just make out the actual rings in the bottom. So if I put that on there, and if you, so they're just visible now at this point. So even though it appears to be clean, it is really quite dirty. So hopefully by the end of the installation, we'll be able to see them rings crystal clear at the bottom.
Whilst we're on this particular installation, this does not have a gas-fired boiler or an oil-fired boiler. The installation here is totally electric, hence we have several immersion heaters. What we have here is a circulating pump which is working on the hot water system, but for the purposes of the demonstration, when you're actually running a heating system, generally speaking, the pump, which is situated here, obviously spins round and has an impeller. Whilst the heating system water is going round and has all these particles in it, which may consist of iron filings from the manufacture of radiators, etc., because the pump is spinning, it acts like a magnet, and what happens, the particles of steel that are floating around in the heating system water will actually end up sticking to the pump, and over time this can cause mechanical failure of your pump, and hence whether it's in a combination boiler, a seal system, it doesn't really matter, because eventually all the particles will end up stuck on your mechanical pump, and hence you will then need a new pump. What power flushing and jet flushing with the use of Sentinel chemicals does, it will actually protect these parts of your heating system which are moving all the time, and therefore it can increase the life of the pumps and valves, etc., that you may have on your heating system. So there's not only savings to be had on energy efficiency, there's also savings to be had on the life expectancy of the parts that you have within your heating system. Well, we've taken all our data and we're ready to actually get on with the mechanics of doing the power flush. We're going to use the X800 Sentinel chemical to do the cleaning. Now, we're hoping to achieve 15% effectiveness on the heating system and therefore gain some savings on energy efficiency. So Ian's ready now to do this, and I would advise that you have a reputable professional person to do this, because you can have failings on radiators, i.e. pinholes, etc. Now, there are two elements to taking on board. The power flushing machine sends water in two directions, as opposed to a pump which sends the water around your heating system in one direction. So we're going to have the chemical aiding the breakdown of the solids that have been deposited, and the power flushing machine also being multi-directional to aggravate any debris that's in the system. And pretty much it's over to Ian to do that on our behalf today.
Right, okay, so what we need to do now, we need to add the chemicals to the jet flush. So what we need to do now is just make a note. So there's a sticker here on the back and the side, just put it on the cylinder just to let everybody know that the power flush has been done on this date.
What we have here now is the jet flush machine ready to start the process with clean water and the X800 jet flow chemical added to it. So we're now ready to get the process actually underway and start cleaning the system. We've now had the power flushing process in place for some time, and we've dumped the dirty water out into the outside drains in accordance with the regulations. We've now come to a point where we have water at this kind of level, and as you can see there's hardly any sediments in there at all, and when you look down from the above you can see the two dots perfectly. So we're now saying that that's clean, and we've got to a point where we're happy with the system being clean. What we want to do now is to future-proof the system, and to do that we're now going to use the X100 inhibitor, and this will keep the system clean for a period of time. And again, on the side of the bottles we have the information that's required, the date the system was cleaned, and what it was treated with and who by, and that will be stuck on the cylinder or your boiler if you've got. Just to conclude now, we've taken a sample of the water in the heating system, and we're using the Sentinel test kit, and we have these should we call it little small tablets, and we put the water sample in plus one tablet, allow it a couple of minutes and a shake around, and if it goes to a nice yellow colour, that just signifies that we've got the right amount of X100 chemical in, which hopefully will protect the system going forwards. And that's the last bit of the power flush. And next we're going to check the temperature of this radiator to make sure we've got really good cold spots.
The radiator is getting a nice even temperature going through it. We do expect a temperature loss between one side and the other, that's as the radiator is giving heat off. But what we're looking for here is that there is no obstruction in the centre of the radiator like there was before. And we'll look at the centre of the radiator. This is where we were having the trouble before, and we're now picking up the same temperature. Hopefully it might be slightly higher even at that side. Right, okay. So now we've done the test readings. The radiator now heats uniformly right through. When we first took our readings, we was getting a cooler spot at the bottom of the radiator. Now that seems to have sorted itself out. So that means that the debris that was in the radiator has been cleansed out through the power flushing process.